Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for coming out to the Fearless Online Entrepreneurs. We're excited to have you here today. Sorry about the late start, 2 minutes. We had some technical difficulties over here. So again, we just want to say thank you and we appreciate you. Today, we're going to be talking about release the past in order to embrace your future. A lot of times we are held back because we are bound by our past. So today we're going to really get into an awesome mastermind session. And while we are waiting for Jody and Diane to come back and uh, join us, because they're going to be leading the hangout today, we want to encourage you to leave your questions, leave your thoughts, leave your ideas, because this is something that affects many people, but they don't talk about it. They just hide it and they keep it inside, and eventually they end up exploding. So again, leave your comments, leave your thoughts. We want to hear from you. And with that being said, I'm going to move out of the way so that none other than our Jody Maley. Did I get it right, Jody? Maley?
You did.
so she can come out and lead us today. Over to you, Jody. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rachel. I have to make a funny comment on that because my husband keeps saying, she keeps saying your name wrong. She keeps saying your name wrong. And we're not actually married, me and my husband. So our youngest guy, he's funny because at school, how he introduces us is, this is my dad and this is my mom. Her last name's Maley because they're not married. So the funny things that kids always put their little thing on. So today we have a really great topic with the Fearless Online Entrepreneurs, and it's one that I feel that this is something that when I learned to do this, it moved mountains for me. When I learned that the title that we're going to be talking about today is to release the past in order to embrace the future. And I'm sure that each one of us on this panel is going to have a really great story in how we did this, because to be a fearless online entrepreneur and to be a leader in anything is to make this happen. So we are reading a book right now with Jack Canfield, and I'm going to let Diane, she's going to start the reading. And for those of you who have the book, it's on page 214. And for those of you who don't have a book, please get with the person who invited you here, and we will give you the link for Amazon to purchase the book. All right, Diane, you can go ahead and introduce yourself as well.
Oh, am I unmuted? Hang on.
Yep.
Okay. Hi, I'm Diane Klein, and I'm from Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and I am working from home, and we're all in the same business here, and I am so excited to be on Fearless every morning. I am loving this group, and I'm learning a lot from it. So we will start chapter 29. Sorry if my phone rings. I think my husband was trying to reach me. Anyways, I'll talk to him after. So complete the past to embrace the future. None of us can change our yesterdays, but all of us can change our tomorrows. Does this sound familiar? Some people go through life as if they have a big anchor behind them, weighing them down. If they could release it, they would be able to move faster and succeed very easily. Perhaps that's you. Holding on to past hurts, past incompletes, past anger or fear. Yet releasing these anchors can often be the final step you need to complete your past and embrace your future. I have known people who have forgiven their parents and doubled their income in ensuing few months, as well as doubled their productivity and doubled their ability to achieve things. I've known others who have forgiven their aggressors for past harm and been relieved of actual physical ailments. The truth is, we need to let go of the past to embrace the future. One method I use for this is called the total truth process. The total truth process, and total truth letter. The total truth process and the total truth letter are tools to help you release negative emotions for the past and come back to your natural state of love and joy in the present. The reason I call it total truth is that often when we're upset, we fail to communicate all our true feelings to the person we're upset with. We get stuck at the level of anger or pain and rarely move past it to emotional completion. As a result, it can be difficult to feel close to or even at ease with the other person after such an anger or painful confrontation. The total truth process helps us express our true feelings so we can recapture the caring, closeness, and cooperation that is our natural state. The process is intended not to let us dump or discharge negative emotions on another, but to allow us to move through the negative emotions and release them so that we can return to the state of love and acceptance that is our natural state of being, and from which joy and creativity can flow. The stage of the total truth. The total truth process can be conducted verbally or in writing, whichever method you choose. The goal is to express the anger and hurt and then move toward forgiveness and love. If you participate verbally, always with the other person's permission, begin by expressing your anger and then move through each stage all the way through the final stage of love, compassion, and forgiveness. You can use the following prompts to keep you focused at each stage. For the process to be effective, you need to spend an equal amount of time on each of the 6 stages. Number 1, anger and resentment. Number 2, hurt. Number 3, fear. Number 4, remorse, regret, and accountability. Number 5, wants. Number 6, love, compassion, forgiveness, and appreciation. If you are uncomfortable participating verbally, or if the other person cannot or will not participate, put your feelings in writing using the tool truth letter to express your true feelings. The total truth letter. Follow these steps when writing a total truth letter. Number 1, write a letter to the person who has upset you with roughly equal portion of the letter expressing each of the feelings in the total truth process. And the other party is, number 2, if the other party is not someone who is likely to agree to cooperate with this process, you may choose to simply throw the letter away once you have completed it. Remember, the main purpose here is to get you free from the unexpressed emotions, not to change the other person. Number 3, if the person you're upset with is willing to participate, have him or her write a total truth letter to you too. Then exchange letters. Both of you should be present when you read the letters. Then discuss the experience. Avoid trying to defend your position. Make an effort to understand where the other person is coming from. After some practice, you may find you can go through the 6 stages of the process quickly and less formally. But in times of great difficulty, you will still want to use the 6 stages as a guideline. Forgive and move on. As long as you don't forgive, who and whatever it is will occupy rent-free space in your mind. Isabel Holland. Although it may seem unusual to mention forgiveness in a book on how to become more successful, the reality is that anger, resentment, and the desire to revenge can waste valuable energy that could be directed toward positive goal-directed action. In the light of the law of attraction, we have already discussed that you attract more of whatever feelings you're experiencing. Being negative, angry, and unforgiving about a past hurt only ensures that you'll attract more of the same into your life.
All right, I'll just get you to stop there, and if someone else wants to, I think we're just going to continue reading with this, and then we're going to come back and have a really great mastermind. So if someone else would like to jump in here on page 217, forgive and bring yourself back to the present. I know Paula and Rachel are here.
Yeah, I can jump in, Jody.
All right, thank you.
217. Forgive and bring yourself back to the present. Make this a little bit bigger here. In the world of business and families and in personal relationships, we too need to come from a place of love and forgiveness, to let go so that we can move on. You need to forgive a business partner who lied to you and hurt you financially. You need to forgive a coworker who stole credit from your work or gossiped about you behind your back. You need to forgive an ex-spouse who cheated on you. then got nasty during the divorce. You needn't condone their actions or even trust them again, but you do need to learn whatever lessons there are, forgive, and move on. When you do forgive, it puts you back in the present, where good things can happen to you and where you can take action to create future gains for yourself, your team, your company, and your family. Staying mirrored in the past uses valuable energy and robs you of the power you need to forge ahead in the creation of what you want. But it is so hard to let go. I know it can be. I know it can be to forgive and let go. I've been kidnapped and assaulted by a stranger, been physically abused by an alcoholic father, been the victim of reverse racism, had employees embezzle serious amounts of money from me, been sued in some blatantly frivolous lawsuits, and been taken advantage of in a number of business dealings. But after each experience, I did the work of processing it and forgiving the other party, because I knew that if I didn't, those past hurts will eat away at me and prevent me from focusing my full attention on the future life I want to create. With each experience, I also learned how to avoid letting it happen again. I learned how to better follow my intuition. I learned how I could better protect my family and my hard-earned assets. And each time I finally released the experience, I felt lighter, freer, and stronger, with more energy to focus on the more important task at hand. There was no more negative self-talk, no more bitter recommendations. That's tough one right there. Resentment is like drinking poison and then hoping it will kill your enemies. Nelson Mandela. Whatever hurts you are feeling, know that I've felt many of them too. But also know that what can hurt you even more is harboring the resentment, holding a grudge, and rerunning the same hatred over and over. The word forgive really means to forgive it up for yourself, not for them. I've had people in my seminar who, when they finally truly forgive someone, release long-term migraine headaches within minutes, find immediate relief from chronic constipation and colitis, release their arthritis pain, improve their eyesight, and immediately experience a host of other physical benefits. One man actually lost 6 pounds in the following 2 days without changing his eating habits. I've also seen people subsequently create miracles in their career and financial lives. Believe me, it is definitely worth the effort. Steps to forgiving.
Oh, let's just stop right there, Rachel. We're at 15 minutes.
Okay.
So we're going to go into that tomorrow on the steps of forgiveness. But this comes up so much for all of us, that really figuring out where you have the anger and the process that he had, that is really, really powerful. And I know for myself, I have actually an ex-husband that this relates to. And the first year that we were divorced and separated, he didn't pay me any child maintenance up here in Canada. So he actually had quite a bit of money that he owed me. And for the next 3 or 4 years, every time that the kids, because he actually moved away from our area and took my kids with him, and the kids, every time that they would come to visit me, they would have these papers from him to sign. And they were basically forgiving him the $10,000 that he owed me, because, this was causing difficulty for him with taxes and things like this. And then eventually we ended up moving into the same town as where my kids were, because we didn't get a chance to see them very much. And both my hubby and I took a year off of work so that we could be there with the kids. But what kept happening, again, every time that they would see me, this issue of money would come up. And I actually did a very similar process of what this is, because I heard it in a Harv T. Eker seminar. And it was along the same lines. I wrote out, and I know that this wasn't something I could go to my ex-husband with, because he would never sit down with me on this, but I wrote out, why am I angry with this? Kind of came along the lines for me that it caused a rift between me and my children, that when they should be coming to my home and we should be enjoying it, they felt pressured by their father to bring up this issue of money all the time. And so I was actually in the process of getting an online course that I wanted that was based on a bit of The Secret. And I thought, you know what? The cost of it was $1,500, and the course had said, you know, you need to go through this forgiving process so it can open up more money for you and stuff like that. And they said, what areas of your life are you really holding on to that you're not happy with an outcome? And I wrote down and wrote, you know what, I'm not happy that every time my kids come to my house, this money is hanging over our head, you know. And if I really look at it, this guy has absolutely no intention of ever paying me that money back. It's not something that I ever felt I would see again. So I decided to write a letter out, just how they said in the steps, and I just said, you know what, I'm going to let this go. I'm going to let this pass. I need to make a change for the relationship with my children. And so I wrote out this big letter, and then I signed it and said to him, I let go the money that you owe me. And I wasn't nasty about it. I didn't say, because sucker, you're never going to pay me or anything like that. I kept it very, very real. And it was kind of funny because the next day I woke up and, like I said, I needed the money for this other course that was $1,500. And I think at the time it was $100 in the hole in my bank account. And the next morning when I woke up, I had this thing just came into my mind. Because you've forgiven him that, you don't need to go to court. And I thought, oh, so I phoned my lawyer and said, you know what, I've decided to forgive this whole money that he owes me and stuff like that. And she's like, of course you're doing that against our better recommendations. I'm like, yeah. I said, but how much do I have in my retainer, because I'm not going to need your services anymore? And she said, $1,800. And so within 24 hours, because I had chosen a step of forgiveness towards my ex-husband, you know, God allowed the funds to be there for me to get this self-development course that I really, really wanted. So this is how powerful changing some of your past actions or feelings and forgiving and then moving on to the future can really help someone. Does anyone else have a similar story or something else that they'd like to share as well?
Well, Jody, I'm not going to say mine is similar, but I do have a forgiving story. And what I'd like to say before that is I went to a Danny Johnson event. Let me back it up. I'll tell you the story, and then I'll come back to where the event took place. Went through. Of course, many of you know that I don't even call myself a foster child anymore, but the experience is there, you know, whether I call myself that or not, it happened. And a lot of times we have to deal with what happens before we can actually move forward. So we have to recognize it. And so I needed to, you know, I had always said I was a foster child. But the family that raised me, they loved me as if I was just there, you know, there was no foster involved in it. But here or there, my mother, you know, she left me. However you want to put it, she left me, you know. That was the truth. And my father had nothing to do with me according to what my mother said. So, you know, in my heart, I thought that I forgave them. I really, really did. I didn't, you know, like I didn't talk about it, but I believe subconsciously I did, because as a child I grew up, you know, not having them in my presence. And any child wants to be around their parents. That's just, you know, it's just a given. I mean, and I love the lady that raised me, loved her dearly. She was like the best thing that could ever happen to me. And she was the mother that I didn't have, but she still was not my blood mother. So this is very interesting. We're sharing these kind of stories. So you know, again, I didn't hold anything. And I actually, as I, you know, became older, I would always tell my siblings, you know, she could have thrown us a garbage can, but she didn't. She found the very best place that we could be. But here nor there, still happened. So I went to Danny Johnson concert. I mean, not concert. Oh my goodness, Danny Johnson seminar, and she did something that was very interesting. I said, "Wow, this is really, really powerful." She started speaking on forgiveness also. So it sounds like many of the motivational speakers, that's one of the places that they come from, is forgiveness, and that tells you that there is a lot of power in forgiving someone. Because what she said was, she said, if you are a female and no, she said, if a female has hurt you, I want you to stand up. And I sat there in my chair. I'm like, no, nobody's hurt me. And then I really, really started thinking about my mother. And I was like, wow, like that did hurt, and it's really, really, I mean, I really had to dig hard to find that. And so, I said, oh, I'm going to stand up. I'll stand up because I want total forgiveness. And so then she said, if you are a woman in the room, I want you to go find someone that's standing up and go ask them to forgive you. And so this woman came over and she said, I'm standing here for the woman that hurt you, and I'm asking that you will forgive me. Tears just began to roll down my face. I could not believe the tears that came from that. And then she said, she said, if a male has hurt you, I want you to stand up. I'm like, man, I got to stand up again? I don't want to stand up no more. And so I stood up again, And then she said, had a guy to come over and find you. And then tears just rolled again. But what I'll say is that was the most freeing experience that I ever had, even though I thought that I was free. I really wasn't, because I really needed to hear, I forgive you, or forgive me. I needed to hear that. And the most powerful thing was for me was, and it stays with me even until today. There was a guy that was behind me. We know guys are really, really, they're tough, they're macho, they don't express all that. This man cried like a baby, and I was like, wow, this is really, really powerful. That this man is, and he could not stop crying. And I was like, wow, this is, more people, to me, that event was worth just that. The experience of releasing and letting go of my past and seeing that man release and let go. So, what I want to do is I want to encourage those of you that are listening in. If something or someone has hurt you, forgive them. But you might need to use the letter format that Jack Canfield used here. Or you may need to have someone come to you and stand in that stead and say, please forgive me. And you have to release and let them go. You have to say, I forgive you. I had to say that. I forgive you. So it's a really, really powerful process. And Jody, I'm going to move out the way because that, to me, that story alone tells it all. So back to you, Jody.
Excellent. And so there's two ways here that if you are struggling with something in your life, and here's the thing, that word struggle, if you're struggling, that is probably an indication that something in your past is holding your future captive, okay? So whether you do it the way that Jack Canfield has it said or the way that Rachel said in person, so one could be in a written format or one in a hearing it. That's important. Hearing those words can change you. And I see Diane here wants to share something too.
I'm going to make my story short and sweet. Mine was actually in the last 2 years, my forgiveness. And a lot of you know our story. My husband is a recovered alcoholic, 6 years sober. And the year that he decided to sober up, we actually lost everything. We lost our house and everything. And that was the year I also had my son. So I had 2 little kids at home, and we decided I'll stay home instead of paying daycare because his new job was paying more than his older job was. So everything was working out great. And that was the time we started working online and stuff, and nothing seemed to work out for me. Like nothing seemed to click for me. Nothing seemed to, I just wasn't making the money that I was striving to make. And I was just stuck all the time. It doesn't matter what I tried. I could never get the $1,000 a week or whatever I had goals for. I could never get there. And just this past year, I started an Al-Anon women's group through our church. And there's a few of us that meet every 2 weeks. And what we do is we help each other, basically. I don't know, I'm sure a lot of you have heard the programs. And then the second meeting, I just let go. And I cried and I said, my husband is expecting me to make all this money and stuff, and I'm supposed to make us millionaires, and I'm home with the little kids. I just let go, and I said, and I think I resent him because he keeps telling me he's the one that lost us the house. And so I discussed it, and I said, but you know what? I decided it's not his fault. It's just as much my fault as his, and I forgive him. And that was my releasing point right there. It almost seemed like I had to say it out loud to forgive him, because I've told him lots of times before that I forgive him. But I had to share it with somebody else that I forgive him. So anyway, that's my story. And then, yeah, the same experience as you guys. And yes, it was releasing, and from then on, I just felt like I've been released from prison.
I think that's a really great story, and also it will connect with people here on the, who are listening or who are on the panel too, because I think what Diane did was really important, that she identified that the problem wasn't even just all with her husband. She took ownership and a responsibility, saying, yes, I was part of this problem as well. And so many people have a really difficult time in saying that. And I think Rachel actually had posted something either yesterday or today that kind of stuck with me. But the difference between wealthy and happy people versus people who are poor and unhappy, and that is one of the things, is that people who stay in that state of being poor and unhealthy is that they don't take any ownership of why they're... Oh, can you guys hear me? I don't know if the sound went off. But they don't take any ownership of why they're in the situation as well. Can you guys hear me? Nod your heads. Oh, okay. All right, so we're very close to the end of the hour here, so I'm just going to, for now, until we meet again tomorrow, where we can go over getting into the forgiveness state, but I want everybody to do some homework that, face some of those things that are holding you back. If you aren't happy where you are right now, it is probably because something from your past is holding on so that you can't go on to your future in the way that you want. So go through the steps with Jack Canfield. Feel free to post us on Facebook on the Fearless Online Entrepreneur Group, and we would be more than happy to answer any questions that you have. And please, like us here and subscribe to the channel, and you'll be getting daily hangouts just like this, where we're real moms, we're real people, and we face the same issues that you guys face too. It's just that we have made a choice that our future is going to be a little bit different. So thank you for Diane and Rachel, and can't remember who else was on here because her name's not on there right now, but thank you
Paula.
everyone for joining. Pardon? Oh, Paula. Right. Thank you, Paula, for joining us today, and we will see you all tomorrow live on the Hangout. Take care. Make it a great day. Jody here in BC.